This year has been an interesting, chaotic, and kind of disappointing one for the animation industry. But hey, I've already talked about all of that, so if you want to know more about that, there's some past videos in the description below. But today, however, I want to take some time to actually talk about some good stuff that's come out of the animation industry recently. Because of course, as hard as it is to believe, some good stories have actually managed to avoid all of the chaos and actually get out into the world for people like us to now enjoy them. So with that said, I've got 2 animated gems for you that have come out this year and that I think you'll enjoy.
I just want to be a regular teenager.
You cannot run from us!
Do we have to start and end the day killing demons?
Okay, so this is a new one, and this is one that I hope gets a good shot at being able to properly develop its story without getting cancelled after just one season. Jentry Chau vs. the Underworld is one of the latest shows to come out on Netflix recently, and it's one that I think is really pretty good. This show gives me Rise of the TMNT vibes in the best way. It's got fluid, fast action and a great, funny and very interesting story. The characters are all likeable and interesting, and there's a great use of old Chinese mythology and new modern storytelling that I find really quite interesting. But honestly, for me, the highlight has to be the action and the animation. Both are just phenomenal. They look brilliant, and they really keep you engaged with the story and just what's going on in front of you. Again, the show is very reminiscent of something like the Rise of the TMNT and the Lego Monkey Kid show, where both shows have great visuals, but then they also have fluid, phenomenal, very interesting action scenes that really keep you engaged with the story and really connect you with the characters in the show as well. One thing that this show does fantastically, that I really enjoy, it has to be the lighting and shadows. This show has a great tone, and it really knows an ambience that it wants to go for, and it just goes for it. And it really uses these harsh lighting and shadows to emphasize the type of story they want to tell and build up to the mythological elements that the show injects into its story. And on the mythological side of the story, I won't pretend to know that I know what they're talking about, because of course I just don't know much Chinese mythology, just as much as I didn't know any Polynesian mythology. But still, I will say that the way it's presented and the way that it's used in the storytelling is so interesting that it makes you want to know a little bit more, and I find that really quite fun. So now that I've given a little bit of praise to the show and said what I like about the show, I suppose I should actually talk about what the show is actually about. And, well, here we go. Now, for anybody who couldn't tell, Jentry Chau vs. the Underworld is a show about Jentry Chau. Now, to actually avoid spoiling the story, I'll just give you a very simple, abridged explanation of the story. And the story is just the story of Jentry Chau. As she comes to terms with her own past, she grows as a person, and she does it all whilst battling against demons and mythological creatures, and comes to grips with a whole mess of family issues. And of course, she does it all with the help of her most kick-ass grandmother in any story ever that has ever been portrayed by her side. And that's the show. It's one that's really good and has the possibility to be even better in the future. But of course, I've already spoken before in another video about how Netflix tends to be pretty trigger happy with a lot of its newest series. So yeah, if you want to actually see some good come out of the animation industry, go out and definitely give this show a watch on Netflix. The show is definitely worth your time, and watching it will definitely prove to the executives that audiences do want more quality animation.
I don't want to be this way. Not forever. Thank you, Blitz, for making me so happy, even if only for a little while.
Okay, so now we're going to jump over to a very different type of Underworld, and we're going to talk about Helluva Boss. Now, of course, to start with, I don't think there's anything I can say about this show that hasn't already been said. The show is a marvel from the indie animation space, and is one of the indie space's greatest success stories. So of course, everybody has already said almost anything you can think of about the show. The show looks great, is fun, it's funny, and everybody seems to really enjoy it for the most part. But instead, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. Today I want to focus on just the few episodes that have released this year. And really, I want to be so specific because I really feel like we're beginning to see a lot of story beats actually pay off. And the payoff we've been getting, well, it's pretty spectacular. If anybody's seen the latest episode, you know what I mean. Recently, we've seen the culmination of a lot of the Stolitz and Blitz plotlines. Not all of them, but some of the best ones we've seen come to fruition, and for what happens in the latest episode, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that I really enjoyed the payoff personally. But of course, as much as this show can sometimes feel like the Stolitz and Blitz show, it is more than just that, and honestly, we have seen a few more plotlines beyond just the Stolitz and Blitz stuff also come to fruition. We've explored more of the world, we've seen more come from the characters and from the setting, and we've really seen how the upper crusts of Hell are taking advantage of the situation and really making their impact known on the world. So of course, if you're into all of the lore and the world building and everything else, you're going to have a great time. But if you're also into more of the character-driven stuff and a lot of the story-driven stuff, then of course you'll enjoy that as well. Because of course, for me, I do feel like I have seen a lot of this show's stories actually come together and begin to pay off in different ways that you can see the payoff and feel like something has been properly developed and has now come to fruition. But even just in putting all of the writing and the character and story stuff aside, I have to say that these latest few episodes have had to be some of the show's best production-wise. I mean, the show continues to look absolutely phenomenal. From the songs, to the animation, to the way the characters are actually acted out and put on screen, everything just looks phenomenal, and everything feels like it's more than just an indie work from YouTube. And if I'm brutally honest, I have to say that this show at times has to look even better than its sister show Has Been Hotel, which is over on Amazon Prime. And I think it's just because that Has Been Hotel is working within the constraints of being a industry production show. And so this show doesn't quite work the same way. And I think it's really making great use of the fact that it isn't an industry show to really explore how its production is put together and how it lays everything out and then puts things together and animates them, how it does everything so well. And I'm not trying to be dismissive of Has Been Hotel or anything like that. No, I really think that show looks quite good as well. But I think this show just looks better on average. I think that this show really gets to explore the way that it lays itself out and the way that it puts its production together. Just because it is an indie show on YouTube, I feel like it has more opportunities to do more interesting things with its visuals and its production. But again, I'm not trying to be dismissive of Has Been or anything like that. I'm just really trying to underscore just how good I think these latest episodes' visuals of the show have really been. Helluva Boss has always been a show that's had its own very specific look and style, but I think it's one that the show has really been able to put to the test recently, and really been able to push to just see how far the creators can take the look of the show and just really see how interesting and grand and majestic they can make it. And in their efforts, I feel like they've really succeeded. And that's Helluva Boss, a show that's doing really well and that has come really quite far from its original starting point. And hey, if you were less into the Stolitz and Blitz stuff and not as interested in the longer episodes of the show, then good news, because Vivzy has also got the shorter episodes of the show now coming out for you, and those are also really quite interesting and have been quite fun as well. And now with all of that said, I'll just say that now, these two shows have been two of my highlighted gems of 2024, just show-wise specifically. I feel like there's more to be said on the films that have released in 2024, but I will say something about that in a few weeks, don't you worry. But still, right now, these two shows have been two of my highlights of 2024. So if you're looking for something to watch and you want more great animated storytelling, definitely go out and give these two shows a watch. Really tell people that we want to see more great animated storytelling, and really enjoy these two shows, because they are definitely worth your time. Now, with all of that said, be sure everybody to like, subscribe, and be around for my next video in a couple of weeks when I'm ranking all of my animated films from 2024. Alright guys, till next time.